Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Harakal Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone that rule well, and Shalom to all the brothers doing the work of sincerity and truth. Yeah, we've got discussion happening over here in the UK about migrants. There's been a few different sides to it. Because you had Rishi go over to France and kind of deal on that side. You got this what's going on with Northern Ireland as well. Where more or less the deal with Northern Ireland and Ireland and like having open borders and trade, that from the 90s I think is when it got sealed. The Good Friday deal is what they called it. From when that got settled, that was like the only thing that kind of brought end to violence. And before then it was just like them guys were just essentially at war. Like it was a madness because it was basically off like Catholics and Protestants, and then it was as they were trying to assimilate like Northern Ireland into the UK as a whole, that then it was, it just flared up again. And them guys are wild, man. Them guys, those irate men, man, those Irishmen. The majority of them over there are gonna be Jakes as well. You're gonna have hella Jakes over there in bulk. And these guys were fucking laying out the straps non-stop. Them guys were shooting to kill. Them guys were getting to fucking shooting matches with the UK military, like throughout from like the 70s onwards. So it was kind of wild. So them were fucking dropping bombs and shit. I remember like during the 90s you would hear about like nail bombs and all kinds of madness going down. Like they were on a madness. So getting them to stop doing that was a big deal. So if this fucks up, then it's gonna be kind of wild, because that opens the door for all kinds of madness to go down. But there's another side. So it's on the Guardian. It says boats, barges, and big bills. The asylum options being chewed over in Whitehall. And it says former military bases and cruise ships are among alternatives to hotels to house people seeking asylum in UK. It says what ministers led by the House Secretary Suella Braverman are desperate to stop the use of hotels at a cost of £6.2 million pounds a day for people seeking asylum in the UK. Conservative MPs are demanding extreme measures, here are some alternatives not being ruled out by the government. So yeah, because I think they've been housing them in hotels for a fucking while. But yeah, I'm saying 6.2 million a day is fucking nuts. What does it say? So military bases, and this is the one that's kind of wild, because the first thing that comes to mind for me is the fuck is it called? Children of Men. Because Children of Men, they basically had people being stored in what concentration camps essentially, which it was like immigration, but then it was basically military strongholds. So then migrants being kept, and then you had at like was it I can't remember where it was exactly. It was a train station. It was a train station. Yeah, it was a train station where they had the German broad in the cage, with a migrant, and she was saying the Schwarze. I was saying the black and that. Like, why am I in here with a black? I'm a purebred white European. What am I doing with the Schwarzer? But yeah, so it says what the Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick confirmed on Wednesday that former RAF sites in Essex and Lincolnshire are earmarked for development, but the government must yet face down legal threats and anger from local conservatives. Yeah, so it's trying to make them military bases into what holding places for asylum seekers, which that then kind of opens opens the door for the, because it said it needs to be converted, so then it could just become a holding facility in general, a former military base turned holding facility, which opens up a lot of things. So we'll see if this goes through. It's That's a whole vibration going out. So it says voices opposite, so local conservatives. So it says James Cleverly, the foreign secretary, has already voiced his opposition to the Essex site, which is in his constituency. A separate site on private land in Bexhill, East Sussex, will also be used, while Jenrick said Rishi Sunak was showing leadership by bringing forward proposals to use barracks in Catterick Garrison in his own constituency of Richmond, Yorkshire. Yeah, so barracks as well. So these military sites. And those would just be kind of, well, that's just the whole vibration, man. You'd be storing, people coming in the country, because it would be like, okay, asylum seekers. Then it's like, okay, now we've got these facilities. What are we going to use them for? And then we've had like overcrowding in prisons for for fucking ages in the UK. To the point people complaining because like violent criminals are getting out early. So you can see that being used for more and more. And then they might just say, okay, we're just gonna, expand on these. We're gonna put these to use. And then, they'll come up with uses for them. And that will normalize birth. And that's the thing, because same thing that happened with the pandemic. It's normalized. If people say shit's got to go into lockdown because XYZ is getting out, it's going to be a way easier push than the first time, because people are just going to be like, okay, wait, we're just going to have to do that. Everyone goes back to wearing masks, social distancing, XYZ, whatever. All that then becomes normal because they've basically broken through that resistance once. So it says the advantages include that there's plenty of space to build facilities, but the government's previous attempt to build a detention centre at a former RAF base in Linton on Ouse was scrapped after a local outcry and legal threats. So yeah, that's what they kind of need to work through, getting people to kind of warm up to the idea. So it says Labour says that the proposals will not reduce spending, contrary to all of the briefing in the papers. They say the new sites are in addition to hotels, not replacements. The facilities themselves will face criticism and possible legal challenges for being grossly inadequate for people who have fled war, charities have said. Yeah. Well, yeah, they can still push it through. It just depends on how dire the need is. And you got cruise ships as well, but that's the key one, because the military bases, that's just got a whole vibration to it, and that's just two. But if they pull it through, you can expand on that, and then hey, we see what it leads into, man. This brings to mind Second Ezra 15 and 16. So it says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes. And yeah, those invasions and wars that's going down, that's a big part of why you've got a lot of people moving around, because it was like Syria. When Syria kicked off, then a lot of people are like, okay, yeah, Europe's opening its doors, and that's how you had like the migrant crisis over in Europe. And then even to now, because Europe kind of opened their arms, it's like Germany opened their arms, a lot of the countries opened their arms. People are just trying to get to Europe, man, because they know they basically have access to way more in Europe rather than staying where they're at, even if they have to risk, drowning in the ocean. But hey, as these conflicts continue, gonna have more of those what they called asylum seekers, man. And what does it say? They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. that's how it's gonna get. People are gonna get roused up. People are gonna get, agitated, and then shit's gonna start to pop off. This is what a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And yeah, you're gonna have the cities getting locked down. And that's what these facilities are for. It's like, hemming people up, restricting people, because them things will go down hella easy. Once it's kind of like hits a crisis point, then they'll be like, okay, now we got to restrict. We got to restrict. We got to lock down this. Got to keep an eye on this. Start finding, and then afterwards, it starts ramping up. Says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with a sword and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And yeah, it's going to be multiple crises occurring on top of one another. The food, the cost of living, bills, gas, electric, all these different aspects are going to be combining, and then the overwhelm, man, it's going to come like a wave. Yeah, we'll see what they do. Military bases, this whole vibration getting pushed out, but we'll see where it goes, innit? But yeah, shalom.